welcome to all of you to the third day of Bharat Nutrition Week. I'm Nikki Gupta, CEO of Teamwork, a specialized media advocacy firm for health and well-being. We are extremely glad and honored to support IHW Council in its endeavor to increase awareness and food in its impact on health. It's an exclusive talk show on good food, the most important element for having good health and happy life. As a parent, we feel scared about our children catching a cold or getting a fever. Is it a worrying moment for every parent? And we are all try to avoid such situation as much as we can, especially in these times when we are amid of a pandemic. Keeping children healthy, strong, have become more important than ever before. So how can we safeguard our children from falling ill? The most important way to strengthen the immunity in your children. To discuss the same, we have three vivacious authors, mothers, and influencers with us who will give us more insight how they are managing their child's immunity and what are suggestions they have. To begin with, I would quickly introduce our today's panel. We have Kavita Devgan. She's an eminent writer, nutritionist, weight management consultant who propagates practical, effective, and delicious way to achieve a healthy lifestyle. She's also a very popular journalist, health columnist, and has been writing regularly for many media houses like India Today, Times of India, DNA, Hindu, Mint, Femina, and many more. She has 20 plus years of experience as a weight loss and holistic health consultant. She is the author of 3 bestsellers, and her most recent book is Fix It with Foods. I think that's quite relevant, and we will discuss a little bit about all of your books also. Thank you, Kavita, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We have Tanya Khubchandani Vatsya. She has a master in public health from Columbia University. Apart from her current work in healthcare operations and development for Khubchandani Healthcare and HCG ICS Khubchandani's Cancer Center. She is a published author, a blogger, and an influencer. Mommy Diaries is her platform across Instagram, Facebook, and a written blog. She has written a book named All You Need to Know About Parenting. Welcome, Tanya.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We have Mansi. Mansi Jhaveri is a founder and CEO of the most trusted discovery platform for parenting and childcare, kidsstoppress.com, which has 10 million reach per month, and she is a mom of 2. Mansi has emerged as the one of the strongest influencer in the parenting and baby care space. She offers online courses for kids, women, entrepreneurs, hosts India's first parenting original podcast on JioSaavn. Her first book, 50 Indian Meal Plans, ranked number 1 on Amazon.in. So thank you, Mansi, and thank you all the panelists for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So I would like to begin with, Mansi, with you only. How mother can make a healthy cooking and eating a fun and meaningful part of the family routine?
Well, my experience is only precisely 11 years and 10 months old. So I'm going to talk out of straight from there. And I think what I did early on was connected. And if you guys are following both Kids Stop Press and me on my personal handle on Instagram, you will see that I connected my kids very early on with food in terms of right from where it comes from to the whole life cycle and the process of it, right? So they've never had a love-hate relationship with food. I think that's the first premise that I established. They never feared food. They looked at food as an essential. They looked at food as not as medicine but healing. Because otherwise typically हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं कि अच्छा तुमको सर्दी खांसी हो जाएगा हल्दी वाला पानी पियो. Like I was just listening to my daughter's online school lessons this morning, and all the kids were discussing their morning routine, and one child saying, Miss, I drink turmeric water every day, and one child is saying, Miss, I drink turmeric water with cinnamon every day. And these are 7-year-old children, guys, we're talking to. So it is amazing the level of medicines from kitchen and awareness that has come about with this pandemic. But for my children early on, couple of principles that I established was I got them involved very early on with farming, with gardening. We have a little kitchen garden, so they understand the process, that it's not, food doesn't come out of packets, it comes out of your own kitchen and your own garden. That was one. They never feared food. They looked at food not as an essential to survive, but as healing, and food as medicine. And food is all the medicine that you literally need. So I think that was very critical. They always associated food with happy memories. And again, like I said, if you're following me on Instagram, you'll always see, like, typically every Saturday, I always share a recipe of my mom that I have created, because that recipe, that food item, it could be like Saturdays in a Gujarati household is typically bajre ka roti and urad dal with bengan bharta if it's in season, right? Now for me, it goes back to memories of my childhood or how my mom prepared it. Therefore, involving my children into the process and associating food with happy memories, right? Food is not supposed to be looked as protein, carbohydrates, fats, and things like that. Of course, you need to know the reason behind every food item on your plate, but they never, and that was one of the biggest reasons that's how I inculcated it. And last is I never spoke of weight loss or fearing weight as a metrics of my health or my immunity or a measure of, they've seen me exercise and for every follower of Kids Stop Press and who's been following me in the last 8 years of Kids Stop Press will know that I'm a big advocate of yoga and, leading a very, very holistic life. So they have seen me right from the time that they were in my womb because I was doing my headstands and handstands even while I was pregnant. So they've seen that transition from the time that before they were born to even now, that a holistic life or healthy living, exercise and food go hand in hand. So I think कुछ ingrain किया है और कुछ उन्होंने देख के सीखा है that listen, if you need to do this, if you need to live a healthy life, you need to put in the efforts for it. So I think that's my transition to understanding and keeping the corridors always open for conversation. So it's never been like my way or the highway. It's always been let's discuss this if you don't like something. And I'm never a mom who sneaked in the food and made green dal and red dal and yellow dal and whatever. I'm not judging anybody who else does it. But I was a full-time working mom and I just did not have the luxury of time to ever do that. So my kids always had to see the palak as a palak sabzi and not as palak, like ground and put into the dal and sneaked it in. So whatever works for you guys, it's got to be a experience that works for you and the health of your child.
Absolutely, Mansi, I agree with you. So according to you, the mantra is holistic life, holistic life or healthy, living, and start early with kids so that they also adapt what you want to inculcate in them.
Yes, and most importantly, for them to know that food comes out of plants and not out of packets. I think that's because they do farming pretty much every weekend with me, and they totally know the hardships to even pluck one millet out of the ground. Unko pata hai kitni mehnat lagti hai. So I think that has really helped them understand the value of food.
Absolutely, Mansi, I completely agree with you. Kavita, I would like to hear your views on the same.
Yeah, so I agree with almost everything Mansi has mentioned because, frankly, that's exactly how I grew up as well. Growing up, now when I look back, I realize how logical and commonsensical, my household was in terms of eating and the food that was being prepared. I've mentioned in all my books also that my first nutrition teacher, I now realize, was my mom, because growing up, she would ensure that we would eat healthy food, which was tasty. And that's the principle I learned from her, and that's the principle I've taken forward in all my writings, all my speaking, and with my child too as well. He's now much older. I'm probably the oldest of you lot here, but so he's beyond my control is what I'm trying to tell you now. But what I've tried to do is I've tried to merge taste and health together, because I personally believe that that's the only way for it to sustain, for healthy eating to sustain. You can't push the food down your throat if it is not appealing to you. I realized that when my mom would make it her mission, frankly, Nikki, to ensure that we eat all the veggies, all the fruits, but she would find a way in which we would like it. You know, like I still remember I fell in love with sprouts when she made it eventually in a very nice tamarind and yogurt mix. And that's how I still like to have it. You know, otherwise the children don't usually take to sprouts. Similarly, she made it her point to make my sister like peas, which she hated. So taste and health have to go together. You have to keep that in mind, and you have to understand and respect a child's taste as well. That's the first thing I would like to add here. The second, I totally agree with Mansi that sneaking in nutrients or sneaking in fruits and vegetables that you think are good for your child only works up to a point. Up to maybe the point that the child doesn't really start thinking himself, you know, like 2 to 3 years old. In fact, the younger you begin with them, to start talking to them about food and the value of food and what really right food can do to us and what harm the bad food can do to us, as a general conversation. Don't make it like a class. Don't make it sound like a sermon. Let it be like a regular conversation topic in between, you know, between a mother and a child, or a father, the whole family together. Maybe I, in fact, also suggest to a lot of my talks that maybe pick up one vegetable or one fruit a week and just figure out some fun way of trying to give information about that food to the child in that week, and cooking that too as well. So that's the second thing. So sneaking in is not a great idea. Being upfront about it, talking to the child, telling them that spinach will do this for you. Tell me, how would you like to have it? How should I make it for you? Would this work? Fine. I'll find another way to make it for you. I understand time can be a constraint. You can't really always take out time to cook so much, but the effort, a little bit of effort goes a long way. That's the second thing. The third thing I feel, which is very, very important as far as immunity building and the health building of children is concerned, is for the mother to be very aware of needs, you know, nutrient needs of children at different ages of their life. Small children require certain set of nutrients. Growing children require certain different sets of nutrients. And preteens, you know, like women, girls, you know, preteen girls or teenager girls will require more iron, for example. An athlete child who's really active in sports will require a little extra protein. So bringing in, for example, sattu in that child's diet would be a wonderful idea. So this is also very important, being a little more aware of what your child's needs might be, and then tailoring the food accordingly and tailoring the conversation around that, I think is very, very important. And finally, one last thing that is actually for the media that I want to talk about, and also for people like us who talk about, you know, messaging or who give out messaging all the time. All the messaging out there, you know, like be it for immunity, be it for superfoods, be it for staying healthy, is targeted at adults, Nikki. I feel for example, we keep harping all the time that haldi doodh is good for everybody. You know, it'll keep you safe. It is brilliant for your immunity. Like for example, Mansi was mentioning 7-year-olds having haldi pani. I bet they are not enjoying it, for one. So we need to make sure that when we're giving out messaging, for example, for immunity, or if we're talking about haldi in this case, probably we can also talk about stuff that will work for children. You know, haldi can be had in many ways. A simple messaging I give out when I talk to children, you know, or to a group of mothers who have young children, is you don't have to force haldi doodh or haldi milk or haldi water down their throat. Or you could probably just try and make small laddus, you know, of haldi, jaggery, ghee and flax seeds. Tiny little laddus, one laddu a day, which they'll enjoy eating as well. Make a ritual out of it that they do it after every lunch or something. It'll take care of their healthy requirement, and it won't be a task to make them have it. And also they will enjoy. That is what I'm trying to say. The messaging needs to, we have to take it to the children. They are the future. Their health is important. So the messaging also needs to be, I feel, tailored a little bit more. These are the 3 points I wanted to make, Nikki.
Absolutely, Kavita. So it is important to make the food appealing and interesting and a fun way. So I would like to hear Tanya's thought, and I'll again get back to you, Kavita, because I got a very good question I want to ask. So Tanya, what's your views how a mother can make healthy cooking and eating fun with meaningful part of the family?
So, I have to start by being upfront and saying that I myself am a very fussy eater. I'm one of those eaters who my mother will still try and sneak in the vegetables for, because it's just, I'm the type who will pull out the kothmir from my food. Because they're at the dining table with us and meal times are together, that they see that I'm also making an effort, but that this discussion is had with them. It makes communication even more important, because we have to discuss a balanced meal. My son, who's the older one, we regularly sit down and talk about, like, what are the proteins, what is the dairy, if I make a change to his meal plan, or like reduce the milk and add something else, they know why these decisions are being made. During this pandemic, particularly right in the beginning, actually, we had an incident where he had extremely high fever, and we had to just right in the beginning in March, before like testing was as quick as it is, before things were as streamlined as well, and we had to isolate alone, just my son and me, for 2 days while he was tested. And so he's been through it.
Yeah.
So the entire thing was a very scary experience for him, which is why it's even more important to make sure that communication is key with your kids. Having family meal times. A lot of my followers on Mommy Diaries regularly ask me, what if we give a screen at lunchtime, and that makes the whole mealtime easier because they eat whatever they're served. But I feel in the long term, and this is what studies have shown as well, is that this just inculcates unhealthy, in that they're not an active decision maker in what they're eating. They need to know what they're eating, they need to be conscious of it, and they need to be able to accept their body's cues, so that if they're full, they can say when to stop, when to go on.
Okay, fine. Got your point. So, Mansi, you were saying that, we should not sneak what the kids are eating. It's not a good idea. But every child is not like that. Many times they are not understanding. If I talk about the majority, most of the parents will complain their kids are fussy eater. And I believe all three of you will agree with me. Right, Mansi, you design diets also. I'm sure you must be coming across most of the parents who will complain that their kids are not eating. Though I'm lucky in that part, my kid is quite a, though he's 2.5 years old, the elder one is 8 years old, still they are quite a conscious eater. They eat sprouts, healthy milk and everything, and they enjoy it. But everybody is not like that. All the kids are not like that. How to handle such situation? I would like to hear from Tanya first, and then I'll get back to you, Mansi.
So in a situation where they're not the best eater, what's worked beautifully for us is rewards charts. And this doesn't mean you're bribing them to eat, because you don't have to keep it based on getting a goodie or getting a sweet. But for us, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, we sit down and we decide these are the goals for the week. So number 1 will be doing your homework every day. Number 2 will be going to sleep on time. There's always something about eating your fruits and vegetables as they're served. My daughter is a slow eater. She tends to hold her food in her cheek. So that becomes a part of the rewards. And this is actually something that moms approach me about, like on a daily basis. I had a conversation about this yesterday. It really does work to tell them, okay, you get 5+ stars this week. We do something fun on the weekend. Don't keep it bribe-based, keep it activity-based, because that makes it a lot more palatable for them and for you as a parent. But for us, punishment doesn't work so well. Rewards works beautifully. That's also something that digests a little bit easier in terms of mom guilt and being a more accepting parent and an accepting version of yourself as a parent.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tanya, for your thoughts. So, Mansi, I would like to hear from you on this.
One is, I completely agree with Kavita that you need to respect your child. Giving you an example, my kids don't eat any fruits, right, except the mango. And I realized this early on because my elder one didn't eat, my younger one didn't eat. I came to terms with it, and I said, "What is?" And I did not even try to sneak it in. I said, "Jab hoga that," and I asked my doctor, "Is it okay?" And he said, "As far as they're eating all the vegetables, that's fine." My younger one was lactose intolerant. She couldn't have any sort of milk. She can have milk products, but she can't have milk in its purest form. And we discussed it, and she knows what the effect of that is. So she does not have any milk, while the elder one is okay. So we as a family have gone dairy free as far as milk is concerned. Other forms of dairy, because we're vegetarian, is okay. The reason I'm saying all of this is that my kids are not perfect. But we need to stop doing this as parents. Agar tum ye khaoge, tum achhe bacche ho. Agar ye tum nahi khaoge, tum nahi. Stop labeling your kids. Okay, there are no good and bad children. I don't know anybody who does love every single food item, right? But what was important was keeping, and I've never incentivized my children to eat anything. I honestly, I just didn't have the time or the inclination with the amount that was happening to say, okay, you get, you'll be rewarded with this or you'll be punished with this, because I did not compartmentalize it that way. And I did not want my children to bear the burden of saying, I'm not a good kid because I'm not eating something. It was very clear that, and literally I speak to my kids as adults, dude, you're not eating this. Are you going to eat this because this is what is required? But honestly, with the relationship that my children have with food, it has never reached a point that I need to say, listen, if you don't eat this, you're going to get injections and you're going to be hospitalized and whatever. So food is never associated with a very, very traumatic situation in the first place at all, right? So that kind of worked really brilliantly for us. And what I've designed, which is called the 50 Indian Meal Plans, which is the book that we've published, is not a nutrition or dietitian's plan, because I'm not I'm not what Kavita is. She is educated in that field. She's an expert in that field. I am a mother who's posed with the question at every evening from my cook, ki bhabhi 5 baje baj gaye, aaj khane mein kya hai? And to just battle that question, to battle the guilt of not knowing what my kids were eating at 4 p.m., I started devising these meal plans, saying that, listen, I need to know if I'm not at home what my kids are eating, and to just ensure that they're consuming their sprouts first and then their chips or then whatever else that they want. Because uske baad agar tum wo ek bowl sprouts kha loge na, fir itna sa bhook bacha hoga that can fill in the junk, right? And I never tell them that this is junk and this is and I must say a little story here. I always tell my kids the cycle of the food. So my kids, and people will find this really hard to believe, have never eaten those smiley fries. To the extent that they've embarrassed me at one point in time when they went to a party where they told the host who was serving those smiley fries that, auntie, it's very wrong of you to feed children something that is cooked 21, at minimum 21 days prior and frozen, and then you have just refried and given it to us. I don't think you're doing right. And I just did not know where to look at that moment. And I was like, oh my God, can these innocent kids not spurt it out just like this? But for me, I don't want to tom-tom that my kids have never eaten those smiley fries. But what it reassured me is that you're never going to be with your child making the rights and wrong choices all the time, right? As far as what you've told them kind of resonates with them at the decision-making point, you've done a good job as a parent, right? And especially with, like, my almost 12-year-old who thinks that everything that's coming out of a packet is actually cool. For her not to go into that extreme has been very, very rewarding. So I think for me, it's never been about judging that agar tum haldi pani pee rahe ho, you're a good kid. If you're not having it, you're a bad kid. Please do not label your children or do not incentivize them to believe that if you will do this, you will get this, because that's always a stick and carrot approach, which will always make them run after that carrot. Khaoge to carrot, varna lakdi, right? So I think that has typically worked very well from the parents that we interact with at Kidstop Press, and both with my kids.
Absolutely, Mansi, I agree with you, and I would say Tanya and you both are going in a different direction. So It's a quite interesting discussion going on. Kavita, I would like to hear your views on the same.
So I, in fact, will tread the middle path here for you. I'll do the job for you, Nikki, because there are different kinds of parents. Why? Because there are different kinds of children. Every parent would understand their child and take the path that works best for that child and for their circumstance and for their family. You know, so there is no right or wrong path, as long as, like I insisted right in the beginning, you have to take the child with you. The child has to be on the same page. You can't be thinking something in your mind and just, implementing it, expecting the child to keep following it all the time. As long as you are talking to the child and making the child understand as much as they can along the way, they won't understand 100%. Even adults don't understand 100%. What adults? As a nutritionist, as a dietitian, I have no shame in saying that we have probably just scraped the 1% of the nutrition knowledge in the world.
Kavita, I would like to interrupt you and ask, because this thing, I believe one of you also mentioned before that Mansi said that I will, talk to my kids and they will understand. But the understanding of the kids will not come before, 5, 6 or 7 or before that. Not before that, right? But how to handle the young kids? What about 2 years old? What about 1 year old? What about 4 years old? They will not understand this is iron, this is protein, this is vitamin, this is carbohydrates. Or
because till they are about 2, they're not even fighting back with you, right? It's just like at 1.5, 2, what will they do? That's all they're going to do, right? They may like it or they may not like it. So also important that sometimes, and when you go into this a little deeper, I'm sure Kavita will be able to, will be the best person to speak about it. It's also sometimes understanding your child's rejection to certain foods, right? Yeah. Because the child is also not feeling that great, after consuming something, or when you are forcing down food, your child, like my younger one never took to milk like my elder one did, right? She always had that little bit of aversion, and then it kind of aggravated. So if you listen to your child, it will kind of work very, very well. And I completely get it that till 2, what are you going to do, right? But what you've done till 2 is going to pay off after 2, right? So that is going to be the big impact that is going to happen. And I'm not kind of opposing what Tanya is saying, that there's no extreme. What I was saying is, in my case, it was a very specific case where my child was lactose intolerant, or she did not have fruits, right? There was a very specific case. So I had to kind of say, okay, these are the options. If you're not having dairy, how are you going to work on your B12 and your B12 especially, right? So that's the conversation. So even if I would reward her, there was no way that I could still fill that nutritional requirement which was there. So that's why that conversation was a best mechanism than anything else.
Absolutely agree with you. I would like to hear from Kavita. Kavita, I would request you to please complete what you were saying and you were adding. You want to add something?
What I was trying to say was that I totally agree with you, Nikki and Tanya and Mansi, that till about, even I would say, in fact, till about 3 or 4, when the child is really under your control and you can make the child eat what you want them to eat, it is fine to even sneak in vegetables at that point of time. But thereon, the moment you realize, and for every child that age is different, that the child could try and understand now, and I can start introducing some conversation, you must begin. Because the earlier, the better, literally is what I'm trying to say. I write books, presumably for adults, right? My first book was Weight Loss, Don't Diet. The second book was Ultimate Grandmother Hacks. And the third one is Fix It With Food. Now, both these last 2 books, Nikki, they are for an adult market, presumably. My publishers are, targeting it for adults, for people like, you, me, and my friends. But how I write it in my mind is that I'm writing for the next generation. Both of these books are actually for the mothers to actually pass it on to their children. I would like, if the child doesn't read these books himself or herself, what I would love actually is, and then the purpose of the books will be met, is that the parent reads out each chapter a day. For example, each chapter from Ultimate Grandmother Hacks, where I talk about how it is so important to sit together as a family and eat. If a mother and a son, or a father and a son, or a father and a daughter can sit together and just read that chapter together and maybe discuss it, frankly, my job will be done. Because just the mother reading or the father reading the chapter is not going to solve the purpose for me. Our generation is still aware of certain good habits and we are hanging on to them. I am very worried about the generation which is coming next, because we probably haven't done a very good job of making sure that all those good habits, continue on to the next generation, because this generation has not really made it easier for us. See, I'm coming from a different wavelength from you all. My child is much older. My child is 22. So what I'm trying to say, I've told you my age, by the way, by saying that, but what I'm trying to say is that it's important for information to be given to the child. So when I'm writing a book for the adults, my language is such that it can be read by a teenager, and that it can be read by a mother or a father to a pre-teenager or even a 7-8-year-old. Because frankly, when you read information and you keep drilling it in a light, fun way to the child, some of it will stick to the child, is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. Agree.
If I may just add, I think what we do as parents is we take away, every child is born with this innate ability of intuitive eating, right? As parents, we kind of take that away from the child, like get a 6-month-old or 7-month-old baby to feed more than he actually wants, you will not be able to. Get a child to eat more than what he wants, you will not be able to, because they are born with that innate ability to eat, to have the power of intuitive eating. We actually force feed our kids and then take them away, and we are the ones who are saying that ice cream is yummy and broccoli is not, right? When we stop treating ice cream as the superior food and stop making broccoli the victim each time, it will make, like, if we start as parents treating both broccoli and ice cream as the same in our heads, it will be a completely different ball game altogether, right? Because then the child is not thinking कि अच्छा A star लेके आए तो ice cream मिलेगा और D लेके आए तो broccoli मिलेगा, literally put like that. So if you stop as parents doing that discrimination, if you're eating your cookie, enjoy your cookie. If you're eating your broccoli, enjoy that broccoli, right? So all I'm saying is that give that child the ability to decide how much is too much, and give that child the ability to understand what is his intuitive eating power, and do not kind of force feed that child at each point in time. I think that'll make like a significant difference. And as Kavita very rightly said, that in her book how she's spoken about what read it with your children. I think that is something that we kind of when we make our weekly meal plans as a family, me and my girls together, we kind of balance it out. Acha, ek din if we've eaten the pasta, we've also, acha, theek hai, wo dinner mein banayenge, to lunch mein we'll eat this. You are empowering your children to make that choice. By the 21st day, your child will reach a point and she will say, Mommy, if we're making pasta for dinner, let's have roti, sabzi, dal or sprouts in the evening. But that is going to come only if you trust your child and you're intuitive with your child. And age does not matter. It's not something that's going to happen at 7, 8, 9, 10. That can happen even from the age 2, 3, 4, 5. The minute your child can actually communicate.
I completely agree with you, Mansi, because as you are discussing the meal with your children, with your kids, it's they are also feeling a part of it, and they think that, okay, we have decided mutually, now we have to have it. So mutually, family discussion on the food, it's equally important. And trust me, my 2-year-old eats broccoli and salads like anything. He enjoy equally as he enjoy ice cream. So
as tum to fir sorted ho, you are sorted. You have nothing to worry.
Yeah, no, but this discussion is for the other viewers also who are watching, and I'm sure they will also get a lot of insight from our discussion. So Tanya, I would like to hear, as a mother, which superfoods that you add in your daily diet, in your and your kids' daily diet.
So, something that we started including during lockdown is exactly what Kavita said, like honey and haldi in a delicious preparation that they actually like, just to kind of boost their immunity. Because frankly, to continue the conversation that we were having, every child does not accept, even if you tell them that this is better. And my daughter has just turned 4. If I ask her if she wants, and they decide their own meals, but given from like a menu that we suggest. So do you want palak paneer? Do you want anda roti? Do you want something? And if I give them that option at every meal would be chicken nuggets or keema or some of the yummier things that they've tried and experienced, and that adapt to their palate, which is fine because every child is different and every family is different. But at the same time, I think we have to give them options. Like Mansi said, when you're planning a meal, plan it for the day in that, okay, you've had this for breakfast, you've had this for lunch, for dinner, these are your options, choose from one of the above, so that it's a family discussion and it's decided together. So the same way they know that haldi is for immunity, they have to have that in the morning. Their milk has been switched a little bit from cow, they're having less cow and they're having more almond milk. So, these decisions have been made as a family to kind of boost their immunity during lockdown. There's a little bit more garlic and ginger added into their food. So we are trying ghee is one of them as well. So easy ways to put it into their food that they actually like, enjoy, and know.
Absolutely. Kavita, I would like to hear your superfoods which you add in your and your kids, though he's 22-year-old, but still.
Yeah, so my book has 40, so you can take your pick from there. 40 superfoods. But personally, I
advise a couple of them for our viewers.
Yeah, sure. See, everyday foods, literally everyday foods. I just make sure that one, of course, haldi and ghee. These two most definitely, and a little bit of tulsi leaves in some form or the other. There are 5 things that I do for sure. 1 haldi, 1 tulsi leaves, 1 some amount of ghee every day, 1 definitely a lot. I've always been a black pepper lover, but now I dunk little extra black pepper into everything that I eat and everything that I probably make for my son. So my son suddenly finds his eggs more black these days, the fried egg, but that's okay. As long as he's getting his egg without having to make it himself at this age, this is a compromise he will probably have to make. So these are the foods that I've been trying to, on an average, put in my daily diet. But otherwise, as a general rule, what I'm trying to do is that I've even more consciously increase the amount of vegetables, the fiber that we are eating on a daily basis. So with every meal, at least 1 meal for sure between lunch and dinner, there is a big side serving of a stir-fry vegetable, which is assorted vegetables, not raw, because for dinner we don't really eat raw usually. It's always stir-fried vegetables and different assortment every time. So sometimes it's pepper and mushrooms, sometimes it's zucchini and French beans, whatever is available. Sometimes it's just gobi and gajar, but nicely just crunched, stir-fried. So that 1 extra serving of vegetable that whatever else you might be eating for dinner is there in the center of the table, and we have to finish it. We have just 3 people in the house, so we try and finish that as well. So that is my way of ensuring that there is an extra amount of fiber and antioxidants going inside the body in a very, very natural way. And I think it's a very simple trick. Every household can adopt it. You could do it for lunch if that works better for you, frankly. And of course, fruits. I've always been very, very particular about everyone eating fruits, at least 2 servings. If not 2, at least 1 for sure. So that evening fruit has always been important, but now these days, particularly, it's mandatory. Because I'll be very honest with you, Nikki, this pandemic has, shook all of us. We've all realized that the most important thing to do, more than the work, more than the social media, more than anything else, is taking care of our health proactively. And somehow, the word superfood and immunity has become a buzzword. And now when you Google, the results for these 2 words are more than for weight loss. And I'm so, so glad about that, So we are going in the right direction, and we just have to sustain it. I think we'll do fine. This too shall pass.
Absolutely. So according to Tanya and Kavita, haldi, ghee, and Kavita has added tulsi leaves, black pepper, eggs, fruits and vegetables. Mansi, what would you like to add superfoods, and what do you add in your kids' diet, or what would you advise to our viewers?
So honestly, I would say there are no standardized superfoods. What we've been doing is every season has their superfood, right? Of course, your ghee, tulsi, and haldi are something that you can have it all the time. It also depends on, I'm a big believer of eating food according to the nature of your body, and a little bit on the principles of Ayurveda and ancient food wisdom. So what may suit one person may not necessarily suit another person, right? So example, in the monsoons, if your local crop is your millets, then you should be eating a lot of nachni at this point in time, because it's high in iron and it is locally grown at this point in time. Example, Kavita said salads. We don't eat any sort of greens in the monsoon, because they're not locally grown, or they're not abundant in supply. So we are actually, I never tell my kids to eat broccoli outside ever. Even round the year, I will never tell my kids to eat broccoli, because I'm just so fussy about how it is cleaned. I will never buy broccoli, gobi, all of full gobi and all of that during the monsoon months here, because of the way it is cleaned, and it's not healthy to eat it in that time. So I actually believe that every season has their own superfoods. So right now, example, if it is monsoon, it has to be your nachni, it has to be all your pulses, because your pulses will take over at this point in time more than the vegetables. But do not assume that, okay, so what is going to be my fiber intake? Whatever are, like example, sage is a vegetable which is grown, which is a local grass that is grown, and we consume a lot of that. But otherwise, we are sticking to all the creepers which you should traditionally be having in this month, in these months, which is your dudhi, turai, galka, all of these, which are the superfoods of this season. So what I'm trying to essentially say is that don't bucket yourself कि अच्छा ये 10 superfood है, ये 5 superfood है और मैं इसी में से choose करूँगी. Example, she said pepper. Now I am having this water which has pepper, long, soft, star anise, and jeera and coriander seeds. Some people may want to have, and I'm having it as a cooling food, because my body was producing a lot of heat and I was getting a bit of breakout, so I added soft and jeera. But to somebody who's of a different prakriti and a different body type, may need to add ajwain to the same concoction, right? Because they must be feeling bloating, or they must be feeling any or indigestion or something like that. So it completely depends on your body type. Example, I always eat my salad 30 minutes before my meal, because it ignites your digestive juices and fire for when the actual meal is to be taken. I will never eat raw food outside, because I just have a mindset that they don't clean their vegetables properly. So like Kavita said, always stir fry them. That's the rule to go by. So I would say each season will have their own superfoods. Example, in the winters, you will get the green garlics, and winter is meant to be had for heaty foods, right? But अगर आप वो suddenly summers में क्यों नहीं grow होता है? Because it's not meant to be had in summer. No matter how nutritious or superfoodish it could be to have the fresh green garlic, right? So I would say don't go blindly by the superfoods that are described. That ones like she mentioned about the haldi, tulsi, neem, and all of these, because every season will have their specific superfood. So decide by the season and your local surroundings that what is typically best for your local produce.
So what is tropically available in the local market? Okay, so Mansi, you mentioned about drink that you are having and you made it healthy. Kavita, I would like to hear, how can we make healthy drinks options for kids? Which is healthy, yummy, and tasty.
So, I feel that it depends from child to child. There are some children who really enjoy drinks and some don't. So I'm not much of a fan for juices, especially not fruit juices. So that's an absolute no. Trying to, one thing I love to tell everyone to give their child is to mix two superfoods together. One is coconut water and one is sattu. If you mix both of these together, it makes a wonderful high protein drink for the child, which is hydrating as well. The second way to do a second drink that you could try is, if you want, if you have a child who's very active and you're really actively looking at increasing the protein content in the child's diet, then you mix buttermilk with sattu. It's such a wonderful combination, and it's an instant protein drink, which is natural and great for the child. you don't need the protein powders, is what I'm trying to say here. The third thing, I mean, if there are children, especially younger ones who don't really have the fruit, it's very easy to give them fruit in the form of a smoothie. So either you mix it up with milk, or you mix it up with yogurt, or you mix it up with anything. If you're lactose intolerant, maybe almond milk. So one fruit, one milk form, be it lactose intolerant form, lactose-free form, or regular milk or curd, and 1 tablespoon of any good seed added to it. And if you want to make it a little more calorie heavy, because some children need more energy, because you have to look at, sometimes some children need help with gaining weight as well. So you could probably even add a tablespoon of peanut butter to it. So that makes a wonderful smoothie, I think, for children. In fact, it can be like a very good evening drink for the child if there is time still for the dinner to happen. So these are the few drinks that you could try. And of course, the regular ones like homemade sharbats, the seasonal ones like the jamun sharbat. I rarely see a child eating a jamun or a falsa these days. So maybe to give them the benefit of that, maybe these sharbats you could still try with them, because at least they'll get those antioxidants inside the body. So I think these will be wonderful for children.
Thanks, Kavita. Tanya, I would like to hear your thoughts. How do you make healthy drinks, or what do you recommend to our viewers?
So, I'm not a big fan of drinks for the kids per se, especially like Nikki said, Kavita said, that there's a lot of sugar in them, and I just feel like fruits are so essential. My kids have a fruit every evening, no matter what. They can choose if it's something in season. A banana goes, all of us start the day with a banana. So I just feel it's a good way to line their stomachs this morning. We've all had oats pancakes for breakfast with banana and tulsi honey. So, a lot goes in just in that. And I don't feel like a drink is definitely necessary, but at the same time, we love it. So one of their favorites actually is a yummy homemade nimbu pani, but we're very careful with the things we add in it. So we add nutmeg, which is another really good superfood. It's something that also helps them with magnesium, it helps them sleep. So that's a great thing to add. And of course, honey. We don't use sugar, we use honey. Salt, it's a great way to balance their electrolytes as well. So instead of drinks, they love almond milk, and we always make like good smoothies out of that. So with that, peanut butter is a hot favorite in our house. So lots of nuts, lots of fruits, and there's so many concoctions you can make. I would highly recommend, though, like a nimbu pani. You can even put amla in it, and they absolutely love it. Amla, nutmeg, salt, and honey.
Okay, Tanya. Mansi, I would like to hear from you on this.
Again, I'm a big fan of seasonal drinks. So I'm just going to add, our drinks will vary from Kokam Sharbat in the summers to currently they're having a lot of, and we put all of these recipe videos on our YouTube channel on Kids Talk Press, which is having, we kind of make gurkha pani and we keep it in the fridge. And we have avla, freshly squeezed avla, which again, we squeeze fresh every morning. So avla gurkha pani with ginger water and aloe vera is something that they're very used to, used to having in this period. And also also I think the biggest advantage in my case has been that that living with grandparents. Tanya's written a whole book out of it, which is incredible. But I think just living in a joint family has tremendously helped my kids understand ancient food wisdom and understand कि हर season की खासियत क्या होती है, right? So I think the grandmother has played a very crucial role in my kids having a very, very well-developed palate. So like I said, it's kokum in the summer months. It's a lot of amla in the winter months. Also, beet and carrot together in the winter months, which is traditionally how we grew up. You knew gajar was in season either if your mom made halwa or if your mom removed that painful gajar ka, there should be a separate mixie used to come to remove gajar ka juice, right? So typically, and when you know that when that comes and your mom starts cribbing about the cleaning process of it, the gajar is actually in season. So typically it works, one of those things, but every single time, and especially in the last 6 months, we've sworn by the immunity thing that I just mentioned, which is to ensure that they are having gud ka pani, because that has also a lot of iron and a lot of strength. A big caution here is, guys, that a lot of people feel that honey is very beneficial over sugar. It's very important to understand that honey should not be added hot to anything, because the minute honey is added to anything hot, it will lose its nutritional value. And according to the Ayurvedic terms, it tends to become poisonous. So it's very important that you let things come down to room temperature. Otherwise, typically people love having ginger and hot water and honey together. So it's a very important thing to note that honey should be not added to everything hot, or people add it to their oats, to make granola. You'll get a lot of store-based oats which will say add honey, and it's a better sweetener or whatever. So again, this is all a lot of coming from Ayurveda. So I would just say that treat honey with a lot of caution, because while it's a great soothing drink for you, you need to have it the right way.
Okay, there is a little bit disturbance from your end, I believe. Okay, I would like to know from Tanya. Tanya, what are the quick tips you would like to give it for working mom who can include nutrition diet if they are in hurry, or some recipe, not exactly recipe, but which options will you recommend to working mom and to give them right nutrition and along with superfood?
Absolutely. So in our household, actually, since my kids were literally since my son was having solid foods, we've done a lot of idlis with palaks. We do palak idlis, we do beetroot idlis. Parathas are such a hot favorite. They love gobi parathas, even gobi and palak. Palak rotis and palak tikkis go down really easily. The kids love that, and they know what it is. They know what they're eating. They know what's healthy, and it's an option that they prefer to choose when you ask them what they want to eat for a meal. If that's on the menu, they will take that. So strongly recommend all of those. And also dosas. You get such amazing batters now, and you can also make ragi batter, nachni batter at home. We actually grate dudi and grate carrot and put it in the dosas. The kids call it their sprinkle dosas. And these are like easy recipes to do for working moms. I know right now is a time when everyone is really overwhelmed, even for mothers, not just for kids, your nutrition and your mental health. And there's some things that have kind of taken the back burner. But I think it's important to prioritize yourself first at this point, because only then can you take care of your kids. And that's something I want to tell every mother who's listening, is not to put themselves on the back burner for too long, because the situation seems to be here for a bit. So prioritize yourself for sure. And of course, when it comes to your kids and their nutrition, there's some easy things you can do, but also look at your own health and your nutrition as well.
Certainly. Thank you. Kavita, your view.
Yeah, so she's almost mentioned almost everything. I would just like to add one thing here, which is, if you can, frankly, if you can just get your household to love khichdi, that's the best way to ensure a meal that works for everyone, which gets made in a jiffy, which is so easily digestible, which gives you complete protein, and you could do variety. It's the perfect vehicle to add vegetables as well. So that's one meal or one dish that I would say, one pot meal that can work wonders for working women, both from the point of view of ensuring nutrition for the family and herself, and also because it's a little easier, of course, and gets ready absolutely in a jiffy. You don't really have to source too much also. So that's the one thing that I want to most definitely add here. And second, I would like to second Tanya, you as a mother, you can't forget about yourself. You have to put yourself first. See, only a happy mother can ensure a happy family and a healthy family as well. So unless you take care of your own health, because health is not just about, aches and pains or feeling tired, the physiological changes. Not eating right or not taking care of yourself also shows up as mood swings and depression and fog and ability to not able to concentrate. And all of that is going to affect the way you're going to parent your child as well. So it's important to take care of your health, take care that no deficiencies, long-standing deficiencies develop during this time. I keep telling everyone, this is the time when all of us are developing deficiencies we're not realizing. And the pandemic will go as it will, as everything goes away. But we must ensure that on the other side of the pandemic, we are healthier than what we were before it. We can't be worse off, you know. And for that, the woman has to take care of herself, as she does of the family.
So women has many role to play, and they are the role model for their kids also. So Mansi, I would like to hear from you. You are a perfect role model to your kids. You are saying you are adapting the same things and your kids are doing, and they are fan of good food, and you have a culture at home. So please advise to our viewers what kind of if they want to add something quickly, what kind of recipes they can opt for.
First up, make sure that you subscribe to the Kids Stop Press meal plan, because you will get a meal plan every single Sunday in your inbox. So that is very important. Second is make sure that you get our book from our website, because that has 50 Indian meal plans sorted for you, so you don't have to think. Third, which is I think taking from what Tanya and Kavita said, is that make sure that you take care of yourself. Because अगर supposing you made this really elaborate dinner, पर अगर इतने गुस्से के साथ बनाया कि मैं क्यों घर में सब काम कर रही हूँ, why am I the only one, ये क्यों नहीं खा सकती, why can't you just make do with a khichdi? So you're anyways transferring so much negative energy into that food, so that food is really not worth it. Fourth is get your kids to cook. Trust me, the nakhras will all go away the minute they start cooking, the minute they start doing the bartan. Honestly, in this pandemic, I have done it all with my family, and all the minute we would actually decide on recipes just depending who's doing. The person who does the dishes for the day decides the menu, because it's as simple as that many more vessels will happen. But jokes aside, I think Kavita said it, that get them to stop from day one that your child is born. Please. And I'm sorry, from the time that your child is going to eat separately, I mean, it's going to start on food, on external food besides breast milk. Make sure that no separate meal is being cooked. And, because we have people right from, and when my younger one was born, my grandfather used to live with us. So 0 to 80, the same meal was cooked. So choice नहीं होता है कि नहीं मैं ये नहीं खाऊंगी, separate one for this one, separate one for that one, separate one, because you would drive yourself up the wall. We had this meal planning template and we would plan for the week. If you want something, it is added to a next column which we actually stick on the fridge, which is called a wish list, which will help every single mother actually plan the next week's menu. So if you want your child to say throw tantrums, so no problem, आप जाके wish list में add कर दो, फिर next week के menu में include होगा. Guys, this will also tremendously help your child to respect other people's opinions. You may like a khichdi and I may like a pasta. So if grandfather is coming halfway through eating a little bit of pasta next week, you better eat what he or she likes, right? So food is actually teaching our children so many other things besides just food, right? And I think that and when they cook, they also understand the effort that goes behind the chopping, the cutting, and the pureeing of things. So I think when they start seeing all of that, that will make a lot more sense. I would say that for working moms or stay-at-home moms, making food is just as important task, and by only the moms, even the entire family, right? Guys, make sure that you plan, make sure that you batch your food, make sure that you kind of and when I say batching, is batching in terms of can you do your can you do your sauces in terms of your ginger garlic paste, your mirchi ka paste, all of that over the weekend? Can you do your chutney, sauces, etc. over the weekend? So you can create things which are much faster. Also, like I would say that batch your food. So if you can cook dal for 2 times instead of 1 time, if you do not have house help, that will help. But make sure that you're not cooking too much in advance and storing and freezing food, because then you're losing the nutritional value of the food. So let's have food in the way it is supposed to be had, and just let's kind of make sure that we're subscribing to all that I just said.
Absolutely, Mansi. Thank you, Kavita. I would request all 3 of you to give us one mantra from your books. All of you. So you all 3 of you are author. I would request Kavita you to begin with. I'll come to Tanya and then Mansi. So Tanya, I would like to hear one mantra from your new book.
So my book, actually, the crux of it is that. Just to give you some background, I had my son when I was living completely alone. My husband was in school and working we were in New York, and so my parenting style has always been very, very hands-on, which is exactly what my book is about. It's everything from sleep to food, but keeping you as the mom in mind and the journey that you go through, and tips and tricks to make the whole experience very simple to you. So it's called All You Need to Know About Parenting, because that's exactly what it is. It's A to Z from parenting, from toddler breakdowns and tantrums to feeding them and getting them to sleep. But the crux of it is that it's very intuitive. It's intuitive parenting, and it keeps the mother at the center of it, keeping in mind that parenting is what comes easily to you. It doesn't have to be forced. It can be overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. So it's okay to take it one day at a time, to put yourself in the center of it, and to treat it intuitively. I think that's something that's important for every mom to know. And even when it comes to food, I think that don't force it, communicate with your kids, give them options, and you'll be fine and well on your way to healthier meals.
Okay, thank you. Kavita, your views from your books.
Okay, so I was mute. I'll begin again. So I have a standard message going on in all my writings, not just my book, even when I speak. Really, I have 3 major mantras. So my whole philosophy just is, seeped into these 3 mantras. First is never, never ban a food. Just eat more of the good food and eat less of the bad food, and you'll be sorted. That's the first mantra that I believe in. And that's there in my first book, Tone Diet. The second mantra that I believe in is that eat everything in moderation. Everything in moderation. You'll be fine. That's one word that you need to remember, moderation, and you'll do good all your life. Teach that to your children and they'll do good all their life. Do not forget that you need to eat like your grandmother. That's what I keep telling everybody. Eat like what your grandmother did. Not like what somebody else's grandmother did, maybe sitting in Japan or sitting in Italy or sitting in Russia, for all that matter. So that might be good for them. What is good for you is what has been, what our genes are used to, and the old habits that have stood through the test of time. So all those are listed in my second book, Ultimate Grandmother Hacks. And the third rule, variety. Frankly, if you can just remember this word, more variety is equal to more health. You are sorted. And for variety, I don't just mean by fruits and vegetables. Variety in your grains. The more kind of grains that you eat, that is better for you. More variety in your dals. The more the number of dals you eat, it's good for you. Variety in, of course, your fruits, and variety in all your vegetables. With oils too, I tell everyone to do the same. Keep changing your oils. So variety is the third rule that you need to remember. And this is there in my third book, Fix It With Food, where I've listed 40 everyday superfoods. All these 40 foods you will find at your local Sabzi Wala. So if you're hampering after kale, my book tells you that you can get more vitamin A from sweet potato, your humble shakarkandi. So that's the kind of message I want out. That it's great to have kale if you can afford it, and if you can source it once in a while, why not? That too is a superfood. But having that shakarkandi or giving your child that shakarkandi chart will make sure that the child will get enough vitamin A for the eyes. So the point is, eat variety. So these 3 rules, if you can just follow, you probably don't need to read my books.
Absolutely.
Kavita, very few authors would say that. Huh?
I'm okay with that.
And for that.
Okay, so I will quickly summarize what all we have discussed. So we should decide with our kids what we are going to cook, and that's the best option, and make them understand what we should eat and what we should not. And we as a mother, as a role model, so we need to tell them what we are eating, and they need to eat the same. So thank you all of you for being here and telling us superfoods which are easily available in our kitchen, like haldi, ghee, tulsi, black pepper, eggs and all, and highly recommended by Kavita and Mansi for regular vegetables and the fruits. I would like to give a small disclaimer to all of our viewers that except Kavita is a nutritionist, but one size doesn't fit to all. Before opting for any diet, please discuss with your pediatrician and with your doctor. Then only take a call. We all are experienced mother and discussing about how we are using these foods in our daily life. So thank you all of you. Thank you Kavita, Mansi, Tanya for being here. It was a wonderful discussion.